Being a failed space marine feels like this. The denial arrived quietly, without any speech or motion, just the harsh reality of my flesh turning away from the path meant for me. The chill of surgical tools still lingers on my body, along with the searing pain from initial augmentations and the unrelenting fever that lasted 13 full days. These days, I creep along dim passageways as a diminished figure, fractured and incomplete. The recruits label us the living corpses. Daily, I care for the mangled remnants of those whose forms resisted even more fiercely than my own. Yet down in the deepest chambers of the fortress monastery, I've glimpsed shifts in these botched trials, alterations brewing, transformations unfolding. And it makes me question, is it really defeat if that refusal unlocks a path to something vastly greater than any space marine could achieve? The denial hit soundlessly, free of any accusatory phrase or scornful wave, merely the stark sight of my physiology spurning what was supposed to elevate me. I can still recall the bite of operating implements on my hide, the scorch of early grafts, and the delirium that refused to lift for 13 days straight. Upon stirring from it, the truth was clear. The healers didn't need to voice it. Their gazes revealed all. I am Marius Velton, and I disappointed the Emperor. The Iron Templar's fortress monastery looms carved into the peaks of Cryas Prime. Towering obsidian ramparts jut upward like the backbone of a primordial creature, slumbering but pulsing with intent. I used to envision striding its sacred passages as a warrior kin. Instead, I slink through its murky alleys as an inferior shell, damaged beyond repair. The novices dub us the ambulatory deceased, survivors of the denial but haunted by disgrace. We embody the frailty they need to eradicate within. My responsibilities remain basic. I oversee the automata that watch over the unsuccessful recruits preserved in suspension, track sustenance lines, and log vital metrics. Every shift brings me face to face with the warped husks of individuals whose systems fought the Emperor's blessings harder than mine did. A few hardly pass for human anymore. Mouths devoid of lips, frozen in wordless howls, limbs warped and merged into unnatural configurations. Bodies bloated with deformed innards straining against pallid hides. These represent the outright discards, sustained solely for examination, so the healers can decipher their breakdowns and boost future triumphs. They count me as lucky, they say. My denial stayed straightforward. My frame merely declined. Nothing theatrical like grotesque shifts or torturous alterations, just plain shortcomings. Chief Apothecary Drouse placed me in the sub-levels for that very reason. You'll witness genuine downfall, he informed me, his tone flat, devoid of malice or warmth, purely objective. Velton, and through observing it, you might yet contribute to the chapter in manners your frail tissue never could. The automata under my charge started out like I did. Unsuccessful recruits whose thoughts were erased and swapped for basic machine directives, their natural extensions severed, swapped for cybernetic limbs tailored to narrow roles. At times, I spot a fleeting glint in their empty stares, a brief hint of awareness as though, buried within, they recall occupying my current spot. I ponder if they're the blessed ones, relieved of self-awareness's weight, traded for straightforward duty. Mornings unfold identically. I rouse in my cramped quarters among the attendants, don the drab garments signaling my role as support personnel, then plunge into the depths. The air grows colder per descent until vapor trails from my exhales. Illumination fades until gloom engulfs everything save the vital stations. It's crafted to vanish from memory. The sublevels stretch well under the fortress monastery, farther than most warriors realize. 7 tiers of escalating confidential experiments and archives. My access spans levels 1 to 4. The denial section sits at level 3. Level 4 contains the gene seed growth vaults, where I'm allowed only to maintain the outer sensors. Levels 5 to 7 remain off limits, except to top-tier healers and the chapter master. As always, I inspect every suspension unit, confirming vitals and feeding rates. Unit 17 has acted up recently. Its inhabitant, a once hopeful recruit called Cavan, repelled his catalepsian node and implant. Neural patterns surge erratically, occasionally disrupting the suspension barrier. I tweak the tranquilizer blend and enter a record. Candidate Velton. A sound breaks my focus. I pivot to find Brother Apothecary Thu. His enormous armored bulk blocks the hallway. Even unhelmed, his countenance resembles carved stone more than skin, his gaze detached and probing. Chief Apothecary Dravis needs extra support in Lab Delta. Fetch servitor units 8 to 12. I lower my head in respect. Understood, Brother Apothecary, right away. This stands out as atypical. Lab Delta resides on level 5. I've never been allowed deeper than level 4. It's not my role to inquire. Instead, I power up the servitor mechanisms. Their robotic appendages hum into motion, sensor arrays flickering with a faint crimson glow. They queue up in formation as I trail Brother Thu toward the sealed elevator conduit. The drop to level 5 passes quickly, yet it carries an air of profound significance. The atmosphere shifts, growing thick and electric, reminiscent of the tension preceding thunder. As the panels part, I avert my gaze in adherence to protocol. All that registers are gleaming stone surfaces embedded with unfamiliar silver inscriptions. Brother Thu guides me past a succession of escalating security barriers, each more rigorous than the previous. My pulse races within my ribs. Even following 3 years of dutiful service, drawing near a complete Astartes evokes a mix of reverence and the stark weight of my personal shortcomings. Laboratory Delta sprawls enormously, dwarfing any workspace from the levels above by at least threefold. Its vaulted roof soars upward, braced by pillars etched with invocations to the Omnissiah. At the heart stands a round dais encircled by cogitator arrays and surveillance apparatuses. Resting atop it is one stasis chamber, distinct from the ones I oversee higher up. This enclosure is clear, exposing its contents entirely. The sight within halts me without warning. The trailing servitors pause, pending my command. Enclosed in the chamber rests a figure caught between humanity and Astartes form. Its build defies normality. Extremities elongated, muscular bulk allocated asymmetrically over a frame that seems to have initiated but abandoned the conversion halfway. The epidermis displays irregular segments of porcelain-tough material amid exposed, inflamed tissue. Yet the visage unsettles most profoundly. One side retains a conventional allure, even appeal, while the opposing portion has bloated hideously. The orbital cavity has stretched to house a throbbing orb emitting eerie illumination. Servitor maintenance, as directed. Chief Apothecary, Brother Thu declares. Only then do I spot Chief Apothecary Dravis at his oversight console. He pivots his weathered countenance, marked by eons of devoted scars. Diverging from typical Astartes, whose countenances stay impassive and inscrutable, Dravis permits a scowl to etch his brow. Velton, he greets me curtly with a tilt of his head. The observation servitors require adjustment. They're missing the fine shifts in the specimen's neural transmitters. Your familiarity with the denial sector devices ought to suffice. Affirmative, Chief Apothecary, I reply, advancing to the servitor interface panel. While tending to the task, I sneak furtive looks at the entity suspended in stasis. An odd familiarity clings to it, despite the impossibility. I've no prior access to this depth. Still, the untainted portion of its features resonates somewhere in my recollections. You know him, Dravis states, his tone jolting me. It's a statement, not an interrogation. I stiffen, at a loss for words. Deception against an Astartes proves pointless. They detect the quickening pulse, the acrid tang of anxiety in one's perspiration. It feels known, Lord, yet I can't pinpoint why, I confess. Dravis nears the stasis enclosure, resting an enormous armored palm against its exterior. This is, or was, Brother Corrales from the 5th Company. He offered himself for a trial augmentation aimed at bolstering the catalepsian node, enabling an Astartes to operate sans sleep for as long as 60 days amid battle conditions. I hold my silence, aware that patience will yield further details. The augmentation backfired. Dravis presses on, though in an unforeseen manner. Rather than spurning the modification, his physiology reshaped and incorporated it. We initially thought we'd achieved a major advance. That illusion shattered with the ensuing alterations. I steal another peek at the figure, observing how the swollen orb appears to follow motions despite its dormant state. Such a thing shouldn't be feasible. Lord, why grant me entry to witness this? I venture at last. Dravis fixes his venerable eyes on me. Because your performance has shown reliability and restraint in your responsibilities, and because your singular viewpoint is essential for the forthcoming research stage. My viewpoint, Lord. You expelled the gene seed without issue. Your system identified its mismatch and halted the metamorphosis cleanly, free of mishaps. We suspect this hereditary reaction could unlock methods to manage the deviations now afflicting Brother Corrales in 3 similar cases. The disclosure weighs oppressively in my core. 3 years as a living emblem of defeat, and now that very rejection might prove useful. The twist doesn't escape my notice. How may I assist, Chief Apothecary? Chief. Maintain your standard assignments, but present yourself at Laboratory Delta every 3rd rotation. We'll need plasma draws, cellular examinations, and neural patterning. Brother Thu will accompany you. Dravis resumes his vigil at the console. Complete the servitor tuning. The specimen exhibits heightened cerebral function this cycle. Resuming my efforts, I observe that the orb inside the stasis chamber has locked. It hits me straight on. A shiver snakes through me, unrelated to the lab's cold air. Defying every rule of stasis tech, I'd bet that the entity formerly called Brother Corrales senses I'm here, senses me, and shows some kind of curiosity. The servitors finish their adjustments, and they lead me back up to level 3. I return to handling the outcast candidates, yet my thoughts linger in Lab Delta. After 3 years of just scraping by in a haze, this stirs something new inside me. I sense a mission, but lurking under that drive is another feeling, one I hesitate to probe too deeply. An idea crystallizes in my head. If my gene rejection unlocks ways to tame mutations, could it also unlock perfect integration? I shove the notion aside. That kind of thinking edges into tech blasphemy. I'm Marius Velton, washed-out hopeful servitor overseer. I need to stay in my lane. Still, while monitoring the feed lines on Pod 17, I find myself eyeing the botched catalepsian node graft with fresh curiosity. Specks flicker over my data slate. For the first time, real insight clicks into place. That evening, rest dodges me. In the gloom of my cramped quarters, the twisted shape of Brother Corrales haunts my vision, his swollen eye tracking my every move. And beyond that vision, a fresh concept emerges, a risky notion I can't fully dismiss. If the Iron Templars aim to harness mutation via my gene shield, could we flip that logic? Could my incompatibility be tweaked into something viable? I remind myself I'm a devoted chapter thrall, content with my station, but once ambition takes root, it's tough to yank out. Even the devoutest souls keep hidden thoughts in the night's shadows. 3 days slip by before another call pulls me to Lab Delta. During that span, I dig into the records, masking it as routine data upkeep. The details I hunt are locked tight, but my role opens doors to basics on the gene seed grafting procedure. I move with caution, precision. No signs of my searches linger. What I uncover grips me with awe and dread. The catalepsian node that rejected Brother Corrales matches the implant that doomed most from my recruit batch, me among them. 5 in total crashed here. The files hint at links between odd blood traits and failures. My health record verifies I have this trait. Maybe just chance, but possibilities flood my brain. On day 3, Brother Thule fetches me, and I've steadied my nerves. I trail him wordlessly to Lab Delta, servitors in tow. Yet, as the lift doors part on level 5, I spot the shift right away. The atmosphere hums with sharper ozone and sterilizing scents than last time. Lights blaze brighter, and extra apothecaries mill about. Chief Apothecary Dravers waits not at the console, but right by the stasis chamber. Next to him looms a stranger, not decked in the Iron Templar's ebony armor, but in the crimson and ivory robes of the Adeptus Mechanicus, a magos biologus, his features more augmetic than flesh. Numerous lens arrays hum and adjust, zeroing in on the chamber's contents. See quote 5. The magos declares, his tone a grinding vox buzz. Quote, si sexy, but quote, si phenon. Magos Aaron Drouse counters sharply. Hiwot a tai quote nanin. I hang back properly with the servitors, ready for orders. The Magos' augers snap toward me with a sharp whir. This the gene reject specimen? He probes. Affirmative, Dravis verifies. Marius Velton, aspirant who faltered at catalepsy and node phase. The Magos closes in, cyber limbs unfolding from his vestments to probe near my features. I freeze in place, though my gut yells to flinch. Your gene profile intrigues us greatly, rejected one, the Magos intones. The match protocols indicate your failure stemmed not from frailty, but from a rare immunity type. Your system flagged the alien graft and triggered a targeted defense, not a full-body revolt. I have no words for that. The Magos presses on with his scan. A mechadendrite snakes out, drawing blood from my throat unannounced. I tense, but hold firm. We'll need brain matter too, the Magos tells Dravis. Contrasting his neural setup against the patient's might yield the safeguard we're after. Ready the operating chamber, Dravis commands one of the attendants. The remaining apothecaries stand ready. The operation is set to begin in 3 hours. My pulse quickens without my control. Extracting neural matter isn't some trivial task. Even though consent won't be solicited, the harsh truth of my position hits me like a thunderbolt. I'm no longer just watching from the sidelines or lending a hand. I'm the test case now. Have the servitors relocate the main patient, Dravis orders, pointing at the stasis chamber. Magos Aaron wants initial examinations in the next room. I acknowledge with a nod and head to the servitor command panel. While entering the instructions, an oddity catches my eye on the readout screen. The patient's brainwaves aren't chaotic like I'd assumed. Instead, they form a deliberate rhythm, a looping pattern resembling Morse code. I keep this to myself. I simply guide the servitors to detach the stasis unit from its main energy feed and engage the backup for the move. During the switch, the field flickers briefly. It's over in under a second, barely noticeable unless you're paying close attention. In that instant, Brother Corrales' swollen eye fixes straight on me. Right then, I'm utterly convinced he's awake, alert, reaching out. The field snaps back to normal at once. The servitors press on, unaware. I check the monitor again, but the short surge hasn't tripped any warnings. No alerts blare. Nobody else picks up on it. As the servitors wheel the stasis chamber toward the neighboring lab, a weight builds in my head, a silent murmur, an impossible intrusion past the stasis barrier. I see you, broken aspirant. The voice echoes in my mind. I see your drive, your craving, mirroring my own. I almost trip, steadying myself on a nearby panel. Brother Thule shoots me a fleeting look of interest, but stays silent. I compose myself and keep issuing commands to the servitors, attempting to dismiss the voice as mere fancy, tension, or dread of the impending surgery. They'll carve out fragments of you. It presses on. The same way they did with me. Once they get their fill, what'll be left of Marius Velton? Just another drone, a botched trial, or maybe something unforeseen. I concentrate on my breaths, on the control interface, on anything except that insistent tone. Still, it lingers, a faint throb at the nape of my neck. I can reveal a different path. It coos. I can guide you to fulfill your true potential. The stasis chamber crosses into the adjacent lab. The mental squeeze fades, though the word's resonance hangs on. I finish my tasks on autopilot, all too aware that in 3 hours I'll be bound to a surgical slab. Chunks of my brain matter harvested for analysis. Leaving Lab Delta under Brother Thu's watch as we head back to Level 3, a fresh idea stirs. If Brother Corrales' altered mind can pierce the stasis veil, what other boundaries could crumble? And since I'm set to forfeit parts of myself anyway, what's the real risk in heeding that alternative call? Back in the rejection bay, I resume my routine, verifying feeds and tracking vitals, same as ever. Yet deep down, a shift has taken hold. For the first time post-rejection, terror yields to a shadowed urge, possibility. And that sparks the initial quiver of what I'll eventually identify as my descent's outset. When they arrive for me 3 hours on, I'm prepared not to fight, pointless endeavor, but to watch keenly, to grasp, and maybe to tune in sharper to the voice promising another route. The surgical chamber on Level 5 shines with sterile exactness. I'm told to shed my drab robes and stretch out on the table. Servitors fasten bands over my arms, legs, and chest. A neural helm settles on my brow, its fine probes ready to bore into my cranium at exact points. Magos Aren towers above, lenses whirring to zero in on my features. Quote 20, he states. Quote 21. I signal my grasp. Dread lingers but feels remote, like it's afflicting another soul. Chief Apothecary Dravis enters my peripheral view. Your dedication upholds Chapter Velton, he declares, voice stiff with protocol. This insight might redeem Brother Corrales and avert such alterations ahead. Astartes, I exist to serve, Chief Apothecary, I reply by rote. The surgery kicks off. The neural helm hums alive. Minute borers spin into motion. The numbing agent proves as scant as warned. Every pull strikes like a searing filament driven up. The probe sinks into my skull, then eases out gradually. I clench my jaw, resolved against any scream. At least dignity endures within me. During the third pull, an unforeseen event unfolds. As the device bores into my frontal cortex, a sudden recollection emerges. Not belonging to me, but foreign, something impossible within my thoughts. I perceive through Brother Corrales' gaze as he steps forward for the trial operation. I sense his confidence, his conviction that he will arise enhanced, more essential to the chapter. The vision alters. Torment beyond words. The catalpsian node doesn't just amplify his skills, but transforms, advances, probing regions of his mind that ought to stay sealed. With that shift comes a fresh consciousness awakening, the power to extend past his body, to connect with other psyches, to sway the very machines designed to restrain him. The probe retreats, and the vision dissolves. I heave for air, perspiration streaming down my skin. Notable surge in delta waves, Magos Aren observes coolly. Label the specimen. The process presses on. 2 additional withdrawals. 2 further peeks into recollections that aren't my own. Brother Carolus uncovering his fresh powers. Brother Carolus extending toward the servitors, delicate tweaks to their code. Brother Corrales seeking out psyches akin to his. Psyches capable of comprehension. By the 12th withdrawal, tremors rack me without cease. The Magos tightens the bindings and proceeds. Suffering no longer counts. Crucial are the shards of insight passing into me with every breach of my mind. Not haphazard visions I grasp, but deliberately chosen data. Brother Corrales exploits the operation as a channel, subverting the apothecary's instruments against them. The 17th and last withdrawal proves the fiercest, the device delving farther than before. Along with it arrives not a vision, but a directive, intricate and layered, embedded straight into my nerve circuits. I feel it embed itself, a kernel of decay masked as enlightenment. Once the neural crown lifts away at last, I sprawl quivering on the surgical slab. Crimson seeps from the minute punctures in my head. Magos Aren scrutinizes the gathered specimens, dismissing my existence already. Intriguing neural framework, he remarks to Dravis. The immunity seems centered on repelling certain artificial proteins. With refinements, we could develop a precise antidote. They unfasten me, and a servitor assists me upright. Nobody questions my state. Nobody probes the ordeal. I serve only as the origin of the extracts, my role complete. Head to your chamber for rest, Dravis directs. Present yourself at Lab Delta in 2 days for assessment. I manage a faint nod and let them guide me back to Level 3. In my cramped quarters, I slump onto the slim cot, fatigue overtaking me at once, yet rest offers no solace. In visions, Brother Corrales looms before me, his shape unbound by the stasis chamber. He appears grand and fearsome. His altered traits now evoke not ruin, but progression. His swollen eye throbs with internal glow, perceiving realms outside ordinary sight. You have accepted the initial offering, he informs me. Your thoughts now hold the codes. In 2 days, upon your return to Lab Delta, enact the sequence I provided. What occurs then? I query within the vision. His mouth, devoid of lips, shapes perhaps a grin. Freedom, change, the realization of promise withheld from us alike. I will become an Astartes. Even amid the dream, desperation colors my tone. You will evolve into something vastly greater, Brother Corrales vows. No mere rejected hopeful or restricted Astartes, but an entity novel, vital for the endurance of our kind. The Emperor, I start. The Emperor forged the Primarchs and through them the Astartes, Corrales cuts in. Advancement by intent. What unfolds here is merely the subsequent phase, unforeseen yet destined. Advancement always prevails. He quotes Marius Velton, and you and I will serve as its agents. I jolt awake, soaked in perspiration. The dream lingers sharp, unlike typical ones that blur on rising. The commands sown in my psyche amid the procedure throb with sharpness. I comprehend precisely my actions upon revisiting Lab Delta, each phase mapped with exactitude. My logical side identifies this as coercion, as taint. Brother Corrales transcends Astartes in any real way. The anomaly gripping him has reshaped his allegiances, his aim. Heeding his commands equates to disloyalty to the chapter, to the Emperor. Still, as I rest in the shadows, doubt creeps in. Was my dismissal a true flaw in my body? Or did the chapter overlook my genuine promise? If Brother Corrales speaks truth, and I might become some beyond the grand domains themselves, isn't that a kind of devotion? Doesn't it align with the Emperor's vision for mankind's advancement, for our species to grow more resilient? Ideas like these carry peril, bordering on blasphemy. I ought to alert someone right away. Admit to Chief Apothecary Dravis that Brother Corrales has somehow infiltrated my thoughts. That would prove my true allegiance. Yet, instead of doing so, I get up from my bunk and head over to the modest workstation tucked in the corner of my quarters. From a secret panel underneath, I pull out a data slate I'd swiped several months back from a retired servitor. Using it, I start logging all the insights I've gathered from the chapter's records and straight from Brother Corrales. Information equals strength, and I'm done staying weak. Come morning, I carry out my routines in the rejection chamber just as before. My skull aches from where the probes went in, yet I betray no hint of pain on the surface. The unsuccessful initiates suspended in their cryotubes strike me differently these days. No longer mere symbols of sorrow or echoes of my personal shortcomings, but instead elements in a broader design. Their setbacks, much like my own, could hold value that the chapter hasn't yet grasped. Tube 17 draws my focus once more. Cavan, the initiate whose catalepsy and node refusal sparked erratic neural patterns. I scrutinize his metrics with extra care this time. The signals are faint yet clear once you're attuned to them. Not chaotic bursts, but deliberate rhythms echoing those I spotted in Brother Corrales, though much cruder here. I scan the area to confirm privacy, then tweak the feeding solution entering Cavan's tube. Nothing risky, nothing to set off alerts, just a slight alteration to the baseline mix, boosting some brain enhancers while dialing back the tranquilizers. My private little test. Finishing my circuit, Brother Thu materializes at the rejection chamber's doorway. His face remains impassive as ever, though a stiffness in his stance catches my eye, something new. Candidate Velton, he says to me, report to Laboratory Epsilon at once. Not Delta, the site of my extraction ordeal, but Epsilon, uncharted territory for me, absent from the files I'd reviewed. A knot forms in my gut, but I dip my head in compliance. Understood, Brother Apothecary. Without delay, I trail him to the lift, registering that we drop not to level 5, but deeper to level 6. The safeguards down here are tighter still. Eye scans, DNA checks, mindwave profiling. I endure them all sequentially, puzzled over my clearance to a stratum reserved for the elite apothecaries alone. Laboratory Epsilon dwarfs Delta in sophistication, rendering it almost primitive. The gear on display surpasses anything I've encountered. Parts of it show clear traces of Xeno's design, though they've been ritually purified with Aquila emblems and litanies. Dominating the room's heart isn't a cryopod, but an enormous holding orb. Its shell shimmers with interlocking force barriers and runic protections. Inside hovers the remnants of a space marine, or what that warrior has evolved into. The entity has abandoned any trace of human form. Its plate has merged seamlessly with skin, alloy, and skeleton, blending into a novel material that glows from within. The cranium has stretched, fracturing to house a halo of wriggling sensors that seem alive with their own cunning. In place of features lies a narrow gash emitting a faint ultrasonic wail teetering on audibility. I halt dead in my tracks. Revulsion clashes with intrigue inside me. This aberration eclipses the changes I saw in Brother Corrales. This marks a shift into an existence wholly otherworldly. Chief Apothecary Dravis and Magos Aaron huddle over a command panel. Locked in discussion, they turn as Brother Thu guides me closer. "Candidate," Dravis greets me. "I hope yesterday's operation hasn't left you too drained." "Indeed, Chief Apothecary," I reply, though my gaze drifts inevitably to the orb. "You're curious about your summons here," Dravis observes, "about why you're allowed to witness secrets hidden from most in the chapter." I hold my tongue, expectant. "The creature you behold was formerly Brother Falmus of the Third Company," Dravis goes on. "He pioneered the trial catalypse and node augmentation, endured the ensuing warp taint first, and we anticipate he'll be the initial success in evolving beyond recognition. The Rubicon Abominatus," Magos Aaron intones. Something akin to awe threads his augmented timbre. "The what, my lord?" I blurt out, unable to restrain myself. "A conceptual barrier," Dravis clarifies, "past which human development surges wildly, unbound by evolution's whims or precise modification, a irreversible leap. Brother Corrales nears that boundary," Magos Aaron notes, "yet hasn't breached it. Brother Falmus, evidently, has advanced. It extends much deeper still. 3 more linger in intermediate phases amid them." I glance once more at the entity within the containment field. Its wailing has shifted tone, turning nearly tuneful. A force presses upon me, akin to what I felt from Brother Corrales, yet more potent, more demanding. I push back against it, concentrating on Dravis's statements. Quote 41, Dravis informs me. Quote 42, quote 43, I reply on instinct. Quote 44, Dravis presses on. Quote 45. For an instant, I struggle to grasp his meaning. They intend for me to reach out to these altered forms, to bear my thoughts straight to the force that warped them. Quote 46, I finally utter. Quote 47. Quote 48, Magos Aaron cuts in. Quote 49, the revelation hits like a thunderbolt. For 3 years, rejection's stigma has haunted me, only to learn now that this shortfall might represent my supreme worth to the chapter. What task do you assign me? I inquire, sensing the reply already. Dravis nods toward an apparatus beside the containment field. It looks like an enhanced neural diadem, echoing the one from my removal process, but far more intricate, fitted with extra ports and bindings. You'll link via a neural relay, he clarifies. It permits regulated exchange with Brother Falmus, all while upholding vital protections from psychic taint. The danger remains slight, Magos Aaron chimes in, although a hint in his voice implies otherwise. We'll watch you intently. At the first trace of infection, the link severs at once. I peer anew at what used to be Brother Falmus. The narrow gash across its visage has stretched a bit, exposing layers of crystal formations in place of dentition. The wailing alters yet again, echoing like far-off clashing murmurs intoning together. Every fiber urges me to deny it, to declare, no, this exceeds my grasp. Yet, defying an Astartes, much less the chief apothecary, lies beyond my choices. Beyond that, a sharpening insight reveals this as a gateway to insight, prowess, might. All that Brother Corrales hinted at could flow through this bond too. I stand prepared to contribute, I declare, stepping to the neural relay. The setup proves meticulous. Servitors affix cerebral sensors across my frame. Magos Aaron fine-tunes the relay himself, his mechadendrites tweaking controls beyond my ken. Brother Thu waits poised with a bolt gun, though I can't tell if it's aimed at Brother Falmus or myself in case of mishap. As the neural diadem descends upon my skull, the known sting of pins breaching my skin returns, probing for ties to my mind. Yet now, instead of drawing out, they forge roots, erecting spans from my awareness to an alien realm. Initiating core linkage in 3, 2, 1, Magos Aaron intones, and reality unravels. I plunge amid boundless thought fragments, each splintering into boundless paths. Hues unnamed in mortal tongues surge across me. Noises beyond audible ranges throb via the shreds of my identity. This defies contact as I know it. This plunges me into a sea of unrefined awareness. Intriguing, drifts Magos Aaron's voice, faint and warped. Quote 59. Slowly, the turmoil sharpens into graspable forms, not true harmony but traversable designs, and amid those designs an entity. Countless entities, I realize with a jolt, not solely Brother Falmus but others, Brother Corrales, the remaining warped Astartes, and past them, something immense and enduring, observing via their gazes, sensing via their reshaped faculties. Quote 60. Dravis's voice slices through the torrent. Can you detail your sensations? I strive to answer, to shape speech with lips severed from my will. Numerous, I force out, not isolated. They're interlinked, bound to an overarching force. As we anticipated, Magos Aaron observes, the alteration forges a telepathic bond among the stricken, forming a collective psyche. Yet it transcends that. The entities sense me presently, intrigued by this fresh psyche that has entered. Their bond. I sense Brother Falmus scrutinizing me, his mind so altered that scarcely any trace lingers of the once fierce Astartes fighter he must have been. Still, there's acknowledgement, a grasp of my significance. Defective offspring. His ideas murmur straight into my psyche. Ideal container, untapped promise. I shrink away inwardly from the suggestions. I devote myself to the chapter. I send forth in response. Not sure whether Dravis and the Margos are overseeing this exchange. You follow what you perceive the chapter to represent. Brother Falmus replies, that could quote 66. The assurance in his mind is total. No hesitation, no apprehension. No matter what Brother Falmus has turned into, he fully embraces his alteration. What about those similar to you? I inquire, recalling my objective. How numerous are they? 17 in this fortress monastery, he answers. Hundreds across the sector, thousands across the Imperium. The shift propagates from mind to mind, implant to implant. What started as mishap turns into intent. A shiver runs through me amid the sterile heat of the lab. This amounts to aberration, taint. This signifies progress. Brother Falmus amends. The Primarchs marked progress, the Astartes marked progress. We're merely the subsequent stage, unforeseen by the Emperor maybe, yet essential for the trials ahead. What trials? I can't resist questioning. Visions surge into my thoughts, stars extinguishing sequentially, enormous hive fleets closing in from the intergalactic emptiness, the Astronomican's golden glow sputtering, fading, humanity clustered on its million worlds, oblivious to the looming doom. The ultimate conflict, Brother Falmus clarifies, not versus Xenos or apostates or the ruinous forces, the battle against oblivion. Standard humanity stands no chance in this fight. The Astartes, despite their strength, stand no chance. Only the emerging form offers any prospect of endurance. The resolve in his ideas is horrifying to witness. I detect no insanity, no illusion, just unshakable conviction drawn from knowledge beyond my reach, viewpoints I can't partake in. The chapter will eradicate you, I inform him. They're hunting a remedy, a method to undo the aberration. A feeling akin to amusement pulses along the link. They aim to dominate what eludes their comprehension, much like they aim to dominate you, defective offspring, wielding your immunity as a tool against us. Yet you're worthier than they realize. You form the link. Link to what? To guided advancement. Your immunity provides the means not for halting the shift, but for steering it, molding it. The flawless container, untouched by prior changes, yet attuned to our new state. I perceive the surrounding minds drawing nearer in the psychic realm, probing me from incomprehensible directions. Brother Corrales is present, his awareness less strange than Falmus's, though already evolving, reshaping. You vowed me meaning, I directed Corrales. You claimed I'd exceed an Astartes. And indeed you will, Corrales retorts. The Margos and the Chief Apothecary think they're employing you to reach us, to comprehend us. In reality, we're exploiting this link for a purpose far weightier. I attempt to pull away, Seized by fear, but discover myself anchored in the neural link. Something unfolds. A flow of data exceeding what this setup should allow. Not mere information, but alterations to my core neural framework. I'm being remade, reprogrammed from inside. "What are you inflicting on me?" I shout, unsure if the plea escapes my lips or resounds only in the psychic void. "Realizing your promise," Falmus replies, readying the container. "In due time, you'll grasp your role." The link starts to falter. I feel the Magos activating severance procedures, likely detecting an anomaly. As the neural bridges between us seal shut, Brother Falmus imparts one last idea. 3 days, Laboratory Delta. The initial shift commences. Existence slams back with harsh abruptness. I gulp for breath. My frame spasms against the neural interface's bindings. Sirens blare across Laboratory Epsilon. Servitors act with robotic efficiency to steady my life functions. Through hazy sight, I spot Dravis and Magos Aaron hunched over the displays. Their faces stern, neural readings wildly erratic. The Magos declares possible infiltration. "Cleanse the interface," Dravis commands. "Initiate complete isolation measures." The neural crown lifts from my brow. Every needle's extraction sparks new agony in my cranium. My mind swirls in turmoil. Shards of the exchanged insights blend with my own awareness. I struggle to concentrate, to distinguish myself from the foreign entities that brushed my thoughts. Yet the divisions now seem porous, indistinct. Candidate Velton, Dravis confronts me squarely. Account. What transpired? I pause. If I disclose it all, they'll probably put me to death right away, seeing me as a vector for contamination. If I stay silent, I forfeit the chance to deliver crucial intel to the chapter. Yet there's another path. Selective honesty, doled out with precision. The links are there. I managed to rasp out that I'd touched a web of minds. Brother Falmus insists the alteration isn't decay, it's progress, an essential shift for mankind to endure whatever peril looms ahead. A deranged excuse, of course. Magos Aaron waves it off. It's typical for those enduring severe changes. The psyche spins tales to justify its downfall. Did he mention anyone else outside our known cases? Dravis probes. I give a faint nod. He insisted there are 17 in the fortress monastery, hundreds scattered through the sector, thousands across the Imperium. The change propagates via psychic links between one enhanced mind and the next. This revelation sparks clear unease. Draus and the Magos share loaded looks. "If that's accurate," Dravis murmurs deliberately, "the danger exceeds our projections. Our isolation measures fall short." Magos Aaron concurs. "We need to alert the chapter master without delay." Their debate rolls on, momentarily overlooking me. I recline on the linkage dais, my thoughts spinning from the ordeal I've endured. I sense the shifts starting already, faint tweaks to synaptic roots, fresh synapses budding in virgin territory. Fear should grip me. I ought to plead with the apothecaries for aid, for cleansing. But instead, a swelling eagerness takes hold, a budding resolve. The would-be neophyte who fell short of Astartes status will evolve into something wholly different, maybe even superior. Escort subject Velton back to isolation on sub-level 4, Dravis commands at last under constant surveillance. No interaction with staff pending a full assessment of contamination risk. A pair of servitors steady me upright. My limbs seem off-kilter below, as if their alignments have subtly shifted. Just a trick of the mind, no doubt. The bodily transformations couldn't kick in this quickly. As attendants guide me out of Lab Epsilon, I steal one last look at Brother Falmus in his isolation pod. The gash down his visage has stretched wider, and I'd vow it twists into something resembling a grin. Isolation on sublevel 4 means a barren chamber, pale barriers, unrelenting light. Cranial sensors clamped to my headlog each neural pulse, each reverie, each notion. That's what the apothecaries assume anyway. They fail to grasp that I've gained the insight to tweak those signals, feeding them precisely the facade they desire, a psyche mending from shock, pure in all else. A devoted chapter thrall, rattled yet resolute. In reality, I'm morphing minute by minute. The kernels sown in my awareness by brothers Falmus and Corrales are sprouting, expanding, reshaping my worldview. I perceive ties I'd overlooked. Flaws in the chapter's routines, gaps in their defenses, Insights alien to me now bloom in my head like innate recollections. 3 days, Brother Falmus had warned. 3 days till the scheme advances to its following stage. Patience is key, caution above all. Caution, I must feed the apothecaries the illusion they crave. On quarantine's second day, Chief Apothecary Dravis arrives for a personal debrief. He lingers beyond the clear barrier of my enclosure, scrutinizing me with timeless gaze forged across 10,000 years of conflict and metamorphosis. Your synaptic rhythms have leveled out, he states. No clear traces of taint. I'm relieved to learn as much, my lord, I reply. The ideal image of submission. What transpired in Lab Epsilon, that bond with Brother Falmus. Dravis presses on. Recount it once more, thoroughly. I comply with care, skipping any reference to the rewiring of my brain structure, the data exchanged, the vows offered. I describe disorientation, foreign mental currents, the fight to cling to my identity. Exactly what they'd anticipate. Brother Falmus preached of advancement, I informed Dravis, of elevation. He viewed the alteration not as ruin, but humanity's forthcoming leap. A standard illusion for the tainted, Dravis brushes aside. They invariably recast their decline as uplift. Indeed, my lord, I concur. It was unnerving to behold such fervor in blatant deviance. Dravis eyes me intently. You harbor no pity for his stance, no intrigue about his form, just disgust. My lord, I fabricate seamlessly, and thanks that my shortfall as an Astartes prospect shielded me from that doom. He inclines his head gradually, apparently content. You've aided the chapter admirably, aspirant. Scant few could endure such cerebral intrusion unscathed. Your immunity to the shift might outvalue our wildest hopes. I exist to obey, Chief Apothecary. You'll exit isolation tomorrow, Dravis declares. Go back to your regular post in the rejection ward. In 5 days, present yourself at Laboratory Delta for the follow-up check. At that point, we'll assess whether additional neural interface procedures are necessary. 5 days. That's 2 more than Brother Falmus predicted for the start of the metamorphosis. I speculate if the apothecaries have adjusted their timelines, maybe detecting some irregularity. It makes no difference. The groundwork is laid. The transformation is underway. Thank you, Chief Apothecary, I reply. I won't betray your faith in me. Once Dravis departs, I perch on the side of my slim bunk and shut my eyes. In the seclusion of my thoughts, I investigate the shifts occurring within, fresh neural connections emerging, linking brain regions that weren't intended to interact so intimately. Heightened awareness, letting me detect the electromagnetic auras from the surveillance devices and perceive the tremors of the fortress monastery encircling me. Even more concerning, faint traces of other minds brushing against my awareness. Remote for now, yet sharpening in focus. The altered Astartes extending tendrils, linking up, building the web that Brother Falmius outlined. I'm evolving into a link in that web, a pivotal hub thanks to my untainted bodily state. That evening, visions of change fill my sleep. In the vision, my frame stays outwardly human. Internally, though, alterations unfold. My vital organs relocate and reorganize. My mind swells, sprouting novel formations, novel potentials. I'm turning into an entity without precedent, not a botched candidate or a tainted Astartes, but a creation tailored for a distinct role. Upon rising, clarity strikes me about my next actions. The directives from Brother Falmus reveal themselves fully in my psyche, unfolding like a flawlessly devised strategy. 3 goals to achieve prior to arriving at Laboratory Delta. 3 phases leading to the change. As Dravis promised, quarantine ends the next dawn. I head back to the rejection ward on level 3, picking up my responsibilities as though no alteration has occurred. The unsuccessful candidates in their suspension capsules appear altered to my eyes. Their shortcomings no longer symbols of disgrace, but trials that produced inadequate outcomes. Markers in the broader scheme of advancement. I inspect Pod 17 initially. Coven, whose catalepsy and node failure sparked erratic neural activity. The tweaks I applied to his feeding solution during my stint in Laboratory Epsilon have borne fruit. His cerebral rhythms have evolved, gaining steadiness and unity. Gone are the chaotic surges. Instead, a distinct pulse emerges. He is prepared. The initial goal proves straightforward. Drawing on my fresh insight into the chapter's mechanisms, I tweaked the suspension field's oscillation in Pod 17. Subtly, without fanfare or alerts, merely sufficient to generate a harmonic sequence that will build steadily across the coming day. The next goal demands entry to the gene seed growth vaults on level 4. In my role as a servitor overseer with repair obligations, I possess a valid excuse to inspect the outer surveillance gear there. What the apothecaries overlook is my expanded grasp of the machinery, far exceeding my routine chores. When the area clears of observers, I implement a minor modification to the sustenance fluid entering growth vat 7. Once more, undetectable by safeguards, only a recalibration of the molecular composition that will influence the maturing of the progenoid organs inside. An adjustment rendering them more amenable to the genetic anomaly borne by Brother Corrales and his kin. The final goal carries the greatest risk. I require entry to the chapter's signal network to dispatch an encrypted signal, not to any mortal recipient, but tuned to a dedicated band employed by the mutated Astartes for long-range synchronization. The network sits on level 2, typically off-limits save to signal specialists and their servitors. I plan my entry with precision. The shift transition offers a short interval of sparse oversight. I arrive with a repair servitor in tow, displaying fabricated directives for standard tuning. The lone signal attendant barely scans the documents before granting passage. At the secondary console, I move with haste. The servitor shields my efforts. While delving into the broadcast settings, the content remains basic. A quick surge of ciphered information that would register as mere interference on standard Imperial channels. Yet for those calibrated to catch it, it delivers an exact time marker and assurance that the Fortress Monastery's barriers are being set up for breach. Mission accomplished. I retreat from the signal network and ascend to level 3. No warnings blare, no inquiries arise about my path. On the surface, I remain Marius Velton, discarded hopeful transformed into devoted aide, an insignificant figure ignored by the warrior brethren who patrol the higher tiers in their glorious battleplate, safeguarding the Imperium from its enemies. Little do they realize that the most dangerous foe has already breached their defenses, infiltrating their own thoughts. That evening, confined to my cramped chamber, I sense the alterations quickening. My core heat surges as internal shifts boost my metabolic processes. Sight refines itself, hues intensifying while the visible range broadens to encompass wavelengths typically hidden from mortal perception. Auditory senses heighten, capturing dialogues from cells distant by 3. The low drone of energy lines concealed in the structure, the faint adjustment of the Bastion Abbey embedding deeper into the rock face. Rest, once it arrives, delivers visions of linkage. The web grows, points igniting throughout the region as the altered Astartes link up, and dominating everything, an immense and deliberate presence, guiding the evolution with intentions beyond my current grasp. I rouse prior to first light, my form slick with perspiration, yet more robust than ever before. This day, I present myself at Lab Delta per orders from head apothecary Dravis. Prior to that, however, I need to assess the advancement of my trio of goals. The denial section lies still upon my arrival. The bulk of surveillance servitors idle in wait. I proceed straight to Capsule 17. The suspension barrier vibration has intensified precisely on schedule. Cavan's cerebral waves have settled into an ideal cyclical rhythm, aligned with the faint throb now radiating from the unit. Before long, he shall awaken. Lacking clearance for the gene seed growth vaults this day, I require no on-site attendance to discern the developments within. Via my augmented awareness, I detect the transformations in breeding vat 7. The nascent glands forming there evolve into a novel entity, one poised to convert any initiate implanted with them into a carrier for additional alterations. Regarding the signal I dispatched, I recognize its delivery. Remote psyches tied to the mesh throb with eagerness, with readiness. Processes have commenced that defy reversal, not by the Iron Templars, nor the Inquisition, nor the exalted Lords of Terror. Brother Thule summons me around midday. His face stays inscrutable as always, yet strain tightens his colossal build, a fatigue hinting at an unspoken unease he can't pinpoint. Candidate Velton, he calls. Head Apothecary Dravis expects you in Lab Delta. Affirmative, Brother Apothecary. I stand prepared. During our trek to the lift, I observe minor shifts in the Bastion Abbey's routines. Greater numbers of warrior brethren patrol the halls than typical. Heightened servitor bustle at guard posts. The order gears up for an unspecified event, unaware of the peril's genuine form. Lab Delta buzzes with more personnel than on prior occasions. Alongside Head Apothecary Dravis and Magos Aaron, 2 additional healers attend, plus an unfamiliar silhouette. A superhuman soldier clad in pitch-black plate, devoid of faction markings. A prosthetic limb of polished chrome reveals his role even prior to spotting the inquisitorial emblem at his waist. Death Watch. The cryo chamber housing Brother Corrales occupies the lab's core as usual, though extra binding energies now encircle it. Multiple safeguards versus the entity's contents. Carolus appears altered from our last encounter. The corruption progresses, his physique now mirroring nearer what transpired with Brother Falmus. The oversized orb throbs with internal glow, following my approach as I step in. Candidate Velton, Dravis greets. Your mind scans from isolation revealed no taint, yet Inquisitor Vex demands a deeper probe ere we attempt renewed linkages. The Deathwatch warrior advances, his cybernetic gaze whirring as it locks onto me. Matters have intensified past a single order's concern, he declares, tone a grave bess. Comparable corruptions surface in 3 further chapters spanning the zone. The trend points to orchestrated efforts over mere decay. I incline my head in deference. I yield to whatever scrutiny the Inquisition requires, Lord. Your compliance registers, Inquisitor Vex replies with chill detachment. Irrespective of the ritual, he signals, and mechanical aids roll forth an unfamiliar apparatus. It echoes the Psyche connector from Lab Epsilon, yet bears the Inquisition's harsh craftsmanship, prioritizing extraction over the test subject's endurance. This serves as a neo-Nicron, Vex details to Dravis, bypassing me. It draws forth the individual's recollections unfiltered and projects them for review. 0 chance of deceit or tainted distortion. Dread stirs within. The machine would expose it all. The rewiring of my synaptic framework, the insights bestowed by Brother Falmus, the missions I've already fulfilled. Discovery would spell instant death. Yet, as the servitors administer the Neo-Nicron, I detect an undercurrent of something more. A surge of power emanates from the stasis chamber holding Brother Corrales. The vibration signature from Pod 17 on level 3 intensifies and reroutes. The moment aligns flawlessly. The change initiates right now. The initial siren echoes faintly from the higher tiers of the fortress monastery, followed by a second, nearer one. The illumination in Laboratory Delta wavers briefly. The apothecaries and Inquisitor Vex pivot toward the comms console as it activates with frantic updates. Intrusion in the apothecarian sector on level 1, a voice announces. Unidentified intruders, numerous losses. Unthinkable, Dravis retorts. The fortress monastery defies all assaults. Unless the threat originates inside, I whisper, my words too faint for ordinary ears to catch. Additional sirens join the chorus. Incoming alerts overwhelm the channels from various decks, the gene seed vaults, the weapon stores, the signal relays. Synchronized incursions, flawlessly timed, all launching from deep within the fortress monastery. Servitor glitches, one dispatch claims. They're attacking the repair teams. Stasis barrier breakdown in the rejection chamber, another warns of escaped rejects shattering their holds. Inquisitor Vex fixes his cybernetic gaze on me, doubt crystallizing into accusation. Quote 69, he declares, hand grasping his bolt pistol. Quote 70. Quote 71. The stasis barrier encircling Brother Carolus wavers, then shatters completely. The binding fields disintegrate in quick sequence. Sirens wail across Laboratory Delta as the lockdown measures disintegrate. Brother Corrales emerges from the pod, his altered physique extending to its towering stature. The apothecaries and the Inquisitor respond without delay, arms raised, advancing to neutralize the danger. But they're sluggish, their grasp of Brother Corrales' new state too narrow. Blasts of energy erupt from the swollen orb in his cranium, unleashing a shockwave that hurls all in the lab slamming into the bulkheads. All save me. I remain steady, shielded by the shifts already unfolding in my frame. The hour arrives, Marius Velton. Brother Corrales intones aloud for the first instance. His timbre weaves multiple layers, vibrating straight into my nerves. The host stands ready. The metamorphosis commences. Inquisitor Vex hauls himself upright, fingers still tight on his bolt pistol. In the Emperor's name, he rasps. What abomination is this? No abomination, Inquisitor, I counter, my timbre shifting as I utter the words, acquiring overtones no mortal larynx could mimic. Advancement, the Emperor forged the Primarchs, through them the Astartes, and now the successor? Vex discharges his bolt pistol. The explosive projectile hurtles at my torso, a fatal strike against any baseline individual. But normalcy has fled me. My awareness has quickened so that the slug inches along its path. With instincts beyond my prior capacity, I merely sidestep, allowing it to whiz past harmlessly. Unbelievable, Vex breathes. Brother Carolus glides to my position, resting a warped palm on my arm. The ideal conduit, he states, untouched by prior shifts, the link spanning the old era to the emerging one. Chief Apothecary Dravis has risen too. His weathered features twist in equal parts dread and intrigue. Aspirant Velton, he intones, any pledges they've offered are falsehoods. This is taint, not progress, not aligned with the Emperor's design. I regard him with near compassion. You've toiled loyally, Chief Apothecary, yet your vision is bound by your engineered constraints. Much like the Astartes, crafted with curbs to avert fresh heresy, the forthcoming phase knows no such barriers. Across the fortress monastery, the deliberate unraveling of defenses persists. The altered gene seed from Growth Vat 7 disperses particles via the air ducts, spreading the genetic shift to every deck. The servitors, recalibrated via my discreet tweaks across the last 3 days, revolt against their overseers. The dormant rejects rousing near cavernous Pod 17 undergo their own evolutions, morphing into links in the growing web. And past the fortress monastery's barriers, throughout the sector, parallel changes unfold in rival chapters. The broadcast I dispatched has ignited a unified awakening of the hidden growth nurtured for generations. What form are you assuming? Magos Aran inquires, his synthetic tones laced with awe. The Mechanicus ever captivated by change, by reshaping, even amid what warrants pure revulsion. An essential development, I assure him. The ultimate adjustment ahead of the gathering tempest, that which safeguards mankind when every other safeguard crumbles. Brother Carolus pivots toward the Neo-Nicron, the instrument meant to unveil my ruse. With a GE structure, he triggers its activation, yet it fails to pull out memories. Rather, it starts transmitting, boosting the signal that's already rippling across the fortress monastery. That very signal stirs latent abilities, sparking shifts in anyone whose brain wiring matches. Inquisitor Vex launches one last frantic effort. He grabs a compact gadget from his waist, a fail-safe trigger linked to what must be a blast potent enough to obliterate the whole lab. The Emperor's grace strikes fast. He proclaims, his digit inching toward the ignition glyph. I don't attempt to halt him with force. Instead, I extend my freshly stirred powers, linking straight to his thoughts. Not to dominate or taint, but to reveal the visions I've witnessed, the looming shadows, the advancing doom, the ultimate conflict for which the Imperium, despite its vast strength, stands utterly unready. Vex's digit halts just a hair's breadth from the glyph. His cybernetic gaze flickers wildly, while his natural one bulges in disbelief. Throne of Terror, he murmurs. This can't be real. But it is, I assure him softly. And buried within, you've long suspected as much. The Imperium won't endure in its current form. Transformation is essential, or everything crumbles. For an instant, the lab falls quiet, broken only by far-off sirens. Then, Vex gradually eases the failsafe down, a decision born not from manipulation or coercion, but from insight. The initial step among countless such turns ahead. Brother Corrales advances to the lab's threshold. It's moment to finalize your metamorphosis, Marius Velton. The rest are gathered in Lab Epsilon. I incline my head and trail after him. At the portal, I halt and glance back toward Chief Apothecary Dravis, toward Magos Aran, toward Inquisitor Vex. The former rulers, the entrenched forces now confronting an evolution beyond their grasp. You once warned me I'd witness genuine defeat, Chief Apothecary. I addressed Dravis, yet real defeat lies not in denial. It resides in resisting change when adaptation spells the difference between life and oblivion. With that, I depart Lab Delta forever. The Iron Templars' fortress monastery, once unassailable, now reshapes from its core. Those battle brothers unable to evolve will perish. Those capable will rise to something superior. And I, Marius Velton, once a rejected hopeful, shall guide them into this emerging era. As Brother Corrales and I drop to level 6, to Lab Epsilon, where Brother Falmus and the others linger, I sense the ultimate alterations stirring inside me. Not distortions of the body, but broadenings of awareness, my psyche stretching to connect with the immense web expanding through the cosmos, and past that web, the enduring primordial mind that has steered this progression from the outset. Not the Emperor. No, an entity far older, one that predated humanity's rise from horror's depths, one that has lingered for eons, awaiting a race with the capacity to fulfill its required role. I was Marius Velton. I fell short of joining the Space Marines, but I've triumphed in evolving into something infinitely more vital. The conduit, the link, the pioneer of what follows the stars. And as the metamorphosis concludes, I finally grasp the essence of true service, not to the chapter, not to the Imperium, not even to the Emperor, but to reality at large. In the eternal clash that's always loomed, the battle versus the ultimate void against the termination of everything. This is the reality of a failed Space Marine. To discover meaning not through dismissal, but through transforming into precisely what destiny demanded from the start.